Alright everybody, so we're still working on the infill. I've wrapped the underside of the forward fuselage all the way around. Wanted to get that done because it's a short run, and I just wanted to get that out of the way before I start doing the longer stretches. Now, the front end of the airplane is a little different from the back end, and what I mean by that is, for the most part, cells 2, 3, 4, and 5, the stringers run fairly parallel. If you look at them, from 2, 3, 4, and 5. At the nose, they taper down and they're narrower at the first former than they are at the second former. So in cell 1, these taper down. So what I do in that instance is, rather than just cut a series of short strips and just do one at a time around the first cell, I'll go ahead and cut a 4-cell strip, but I'll only measure the width of it on either end of that strip, here and here at the back end, and then we'll take that strip and we'll use it to fill these openings. And I said a 4-cell, so we'll measure from here to here, but we'll use that strip from here to here, and then I'll just taper the first one down at the front end. And it's about yield. If I start going 1 cell at a time, you lose your yield out of the sheet stock. So that's why I do it the other way. And again, this is the only long strip left. All the others are going to be 3-cell strips. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So out of 10, 8 of those are 3-cell, and only 2 are going to be 4-cell strips. You know, if I proceed that way. Now on the back half of the fuselage, behind the cockpit section, all of the cell runs taper down and are not necessarily parallel. They're all going to have taper to them, and probably the possible exception of this one here, which looks to be a parallelogram all the way down. Okay, so it just, for yield's sake, for the sake of getting maximum yield out of the sheet, we try and take a look at it. I try and take a look at how we're going to do this. Now, if I didn't prepare for this at the front end here and just measured my next strip, let's say from here to here, and mark the 2 lines here, here, and here, here, what I would end up with is a cut from here to here that was on an angle that would not necessarily match the profile. In other words, it would get too skinny at the front end of this cell in order to reach this width at this end of that strip. That's why I would measure here to here, the width here and the width here, and then just slide forward and remove that small sliver of material. And it might make sense if I actually do the work on camera, so maybe we'll do some of that on this project. Now here are the 2 side scoops. I've gone ahead and trimmed this one right to size. You can see that's going to fit right in there, right about there. And then we'll use filler to clean up the edges after we lay in all the infill. Then we'll drop this in here, and then we'll use filler to smooth out the edges of it. And we'll do that on both sides. And you can see I reinforced the inside of the inner door, and that's because it was really flimsy plastic down there, and so I just laminated a cardstock to that using the sand and steel as an adhesive, and to help stiffen the paper as it dries. As you can see, that stuff can be painted over the plastic too, and it levels. It's kind of self-leveling. It thins, it flattens, and then hardens against the plastic, which is nice. What I'm trying to say is you don't get a whole lot of brush strokes. And I haven't done the whole piece. I just kind of painted over this side of it, not this side of it. What'll happen is after everything gets infilled and these are laid on, I'll be painting that sand and seal product, the stuff, over the entire airframe multiple times, and then lightly sanding that off. Alright, so this is the first one cut out. Here's the other one. I've marked all the trim lines as far as just getting this piece to fit to the fuselage. Once it does that, we're lining that up with the right hand side. This is the left hand side. So once we get, let's see, it goes this way. Once I get it all trimmed out roughly to the blue line, we'll lay it up on here and mark off all the final cuts. So we'll get it cut to length and we'll get it cut to proper width after the fact. But first these, I'll be just trimming it to the blue line to get it to lay flat against the fuselage, and then we'll make the final cuts. Okay, and we just do those by hand. You know, once you've marked those straight lines on there, all you have to do is track those with your number 11 X-Acto blade. You don't need to use a ruler. You just have to draw the line carefully using the tip of the blade, and just scribe and scribe it until it's ready to break off. Okay, so that'll be tomorrow. And then again, maybe I'll show a little bit of what I'm talking about with regards to infill and the tapering of these openings as they run in either direction, and how we try to get maximum yield out of our out of the sheet stock balsa. Okay, so I have decided to use the plastic here, but I'm beginning to think I went ahead and infilled the nose here. This opening is where the front scoop goes. That's this scoop here. And what I'm thinking I'm going to do is I'm going to infill those, flatten them, and make these out of my birch ply. Probably I might use this material and just cut them into these wedges, but I'm thinking more and more I'm probably going to use the birch ply, make these shapes, and then drill a hole and insert just a small section of aluminum tubing, and then I'll punch out a door for the what this is this is I think it's a heat dump for the Supercharger. It's a damper. It's a way to release some of the hotter air out of the and clear the system, get a little cold air into the Supercharger. I think that's what that's for, if I read that right. I could be wrong. I'm no mechanic. I'm just an airplane guy, buff. So I'll reread it and take another look at and see exactly what that is. But it seems to me it had to do with the Supercharger, and it has to do with cooling, the purging heat out of the Supercharger system. Okay, so we'll take a look at modifying and scratch building that detail, but I am going to use the Guillow provided parts here on the sides, on the back, on the vent heat exhaust from the Supercharger. This part is also going to be used. This will be cut out. I'll open up the scoop in the back here, and that'll be laid on at this position. Again, all that's going to happen after infill, right? So we'll be trimming those, finishing the right hand vent tomorrow, and then I'll probably do a little bit of infill work on camera if I have time. You know, it's always weather and time permitting. All right. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.